It's time for the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Let's recap the latest weekly scores and highlights from around the county.
And thank you for listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show. Yes, I'm The Todd, and joining me as always is Anthony Richards. Anthony, how you doing this morning? Another great football Sunday starting at 9:30 in the morning and going until this evening.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Todd. Ready to talk about another exciting week of football.
Yeah, so I told you beforehand. Now, people, we've alluded that we talk and text about football during the week and stuff, but I kind of told you I had a little surprise statement for you before the show got started, and here it is. Last week, after the Jaguars played in, London, and offense has not really been great, right? People are talking about, what about the Jaguars offense? What about their offense? And I'm going, you know what? I'm going to tell everyone right now in the 32081 and 82 and St. Johns County in general, I don't want to hear about it anymore. Because you know what? You've got firepower in high school Friday night light football putting up offensive juggernaut scores. You don't need to worry about that, because if you want to head on over to the Tank, the Den, heck, the Castle, wherever, St. Johns County is lighting it up on the scoreboard.
Oh yeah. There's plenty of points to be had, and they're having their way with them. So I mean, it's if you want excitement and you want to see points, you don't have to go very far, and just come out next Friday night, and you go anywhere. I mean, all the schools in the county are really just racking it up.
They're just on all cylinders, and in fact, on all cylinders are the Ponte Vedra Sharks. They Bishop Kenny goes in. You and I were talking. We're like, okay, Bishop Kenny hasn't been as strong as in the past, but they still have had a really good season. And the Sharks again, they win 55-20. They go 5-1 on the season. Now, here's what I ask you about this particular game, because I know you were at the first half. We talked about the Florida State high school win being kind of a statement win because they lost them the year before. They travel out there. We're like, this is a statement win. This really gets their confidence boosted. But this win seems to send a statement that's saying, we're rolling now. Now you got to deal with us. Now we're clicking. And they're a force to be reckoned with. There's no doubt at all that Steve Price has them just clicking right now.
Oh, yeah. No, it's exactly. I mean, it seems like just every week they're, just another portion of their team or identity is getting developed, or they're just honing in on that even more. And every week I'm like this. I'm just more and more impressed with both sides of the ball, even in special teams too. Just all three phases are just clicking, and that's the sign of a team that not just makes the playoffs, but like can do some damage once they get there and make a really deep run for sure.
Now, I've been critical of the passing game. I'll admit it right now. I have. I've been always asking when are they going to use these wide receivers that are really, really good. And then I look at this game, and guess what? Landon Okla all of a sudden becomes utilized. Burke is 9 of 13 overall for 172. And Landon ends up getting 4 receptions, 3 of those for touchdowns, totaling 83 yards. Cole Madsen gets involved, too, with a touchdown off of 2 receptions for 55 yards. Do you think as they move into some of these games against Tocoi, against Nease, and so on, as they finish out the season, we can see these big targets becoming more of a factor in the offense?
I do believe that. Yeah, especially it was great to see Landon. I mean, he caught like you said, three touchdowns. I mean, he's such a matchup, nightmare. I mean, he's got size but speed, so it's hard for linebackers to keep up with him. But he can win jump balls against corners. I mean, so he's just. I mean, you can utilize him in so many ways.
Yeah, it's like you said. You line him. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're right. You line him up in the slot. It's like, oh my goodness, it's coming to me. You line him up outside against corner. You're like, oh my goodness, he's going to run a wheel rat on you. He's just hard to defend.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really don't know if there's that many high school, defenders that can actually match up with him. So, I mean, if you're, the coaching staff with the Sharks, you got to take advantage of that. And I think they're really starting to really finally just utilize that. And I mean, it also helps that the passing game that they have such a dynamic running attack with, Brian Case, pounding the ball, and then Burke can do his thing. He can get 100 yards any week as that from a quarterback position. So I think they're so dynamic running the ball. Their play action is just so deadly. It just sucks defenses right in, and then Burke can just hit balls over the top, and they can take their shots and then be successful when they do.
But is that something that Ponte Vedra can exploit the second to third part of their schedule? Meaning that I looked at some of the comparison over the year, and when you look at it, they've carried the ball 204 times compared to 67 passes. However, here's what's weird, Anthony. The rushing yardage off that 204 is 1188. The 67 passing attempts, they're at 1,068. So they're not that far off. They're getting the production off the passing game. So in a way, could Coach Price be kind of setting up, or maybe not intentionally, but could it also be keeping part of their game away from the teams that they're about to play, going into like a heavy district schedule with Tocoi and Nease, for example? They're not going to be able to see that passing game, and now all of a sudden when it matters, like I said, it's lethal. Like you said, you look at the yardage; they're getting about the same with more than half the production, less than half the production, I should say.
Yeah, no, I definitely see. It's those incremental gains from week to week that in the passing game that you're starting to see, and I think that'll just continue. Those gains will continue to be made, and as they do that, along with the rushing game that already is, really dynamite and well in effect. I think it's just the perfect time. I think they've set it up perfect to where the offense can really just kind of do its thing heading into district play. And like you said, it's not something that the other teams are going to have a lot of footage or a lot of knowledge about. So I think they know, they're aware of the weapons, but they don't actually know how maybe they will utilize them. So, and that goes in a big way in preparation and all. So I think it's definitely an advantage for the Ponte Vedra offense moving forward.
Now, before I talk about their defense, I do want to make one thing clear. We try to keep our shows to about 20, 22 minutes. So in order to do that, I'm not going to name all the players in defense on the Ponte Vedra Sharks that gets involved in a game because it's ridiculous. it's crazy when you look at it. Yeah. But on the defense against Kenny, they registered 4 sacks, 6 pass defenses, 2 fumble recoveries. You can't just talk about one individual player. We've kind of discussed this before. Of course, you got players like, the Babbins, the Mahoney and stuff like that play absolutely well. But more than individual players stepping up on the defense, they are a very strong unit.
They are. It's just they're the definition of team defense. All the different levels, they complement each other. If one level is having a little bit of an off night, the others, maybe the front's not having great, then the linebackers are there to help fill the void or help out. And they also against Kenny, one of the things they really got home a lot on their with blitzes. So the blitz packages were unique at times, and they were able to have a lot of success, really confusing Kenny's offensive line. So that's something to really look out for, because not only are they just a good all-around defense, but they're really starting to be aggressive now, and that's a scary proposition for the upcoming district offenses that have to run against them.
Now, with Tocoi around the corner, I'm not going to call this a test because they've proven themselves, but I think this is a really good matchup to watch. The Ponte Vedra Sharks defense against the Tocoi offense led by Kilmer at quarterback, because he's a great forward. He's got a great arm. He's the prototypical size of a quarterback you want to see. How do you see this matchup? Because it feels like this could be one of those games, maybe possibly since Florida State University High School, to where there are good matchups on all the different positions on the field when Tocoi's on offense and the Sharks are on defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, those are the key matchups for sure. And the Sharks defense, like I was kind of said, it's one of those where every week they just they do their thing, and so to where it's almost the expectation now. So I'm almost going in where Tocoi has to kind of prove to me that they can't. It looks like they can match up well, but they have to kind of prove that they can consistently hit shots, convert first downs, maintain. And if they want to challenge the secondary, then I think the Sharks will be aware of that, and and they've got guys that can do it and proven that they can stick with guys. So if they want to stay away from Mahoney, that's one thing, but then you've got playmakers on the other side, so it's kind of it's almost like a pick your poison type of thing, and that is going to be a juicy matchup for everyone watching every time that Toccoi's offense is on the field and the Sharks are standing on the other side against them.
I think I'm going to take for this game. I'm going to take the Sharks, and I'm going to take them by 2 touchdowns at least. I see the Sharks winning this game. I think it's going to be a good matchup early on. Mm-hmm. I just think the Sharks are stronger down for the whole 4 quarters, and I think they pull away. I'm not sure if they utilize all their weapons on offense, because I know they've got that matchup with Nease in 2 weeks after this week. So, but I like them for at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that too. I think Tocoi, I think they will move the ball. Better than maybe other teams have against the Sharks. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think the Sharks they're just they're just there as a team, a program right there, that they're just, everything is just clicking. And I think, by the fourth quarter, they'll start to open it up, and it'll be kind of like that typical close going into the fourth quarter. But then, you get 10 more points to kind of, open it up and then maybe win by 14, 17. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's head on over to the den just a little ways down. And here's what's funny. You hear a lot of people, Anthony, I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say this, and maybe you said it because I know I've said it before, and you say, okay, you look at a score like St. Augustine Nease, and it's 49-30. And I heard a lot of people talking yesterday and today. The common thread was the game was closer than the score. And you sit there and you think, what does that really mean? So I dug into the stats, and to put it in perspective, the offensive yards, St. Augustine had 578, and Nease had 541. So, again, to my point about earlier, don't complain about offense not being able to be seen in the North Florida area because you can see it, right? But that shows how close this game was, and it was really won on a bunch of big plays. For example, like Lachlan Hewitt and Bryce Frick, they both had some phenomenal passes, for great chunks of yardage. I know that Bryce connected with Maddox Spencer, Braden Felder. Lachlan was able to connect with Carl Jenkins, a big 6'2", St. Augustine receiver. Yeah. So there were both runs, runs on both sides, Cam Smith and KJ Perry. KJ Perry broke 100. What are your thoughts on this game versus the ending score?
Yeah, I feel the same way. If I was Nease, you're feeling, upset because, you lost it, but you feel like you could have had it, which is, those are the worst losses. When you feel like, we did so many things right and just couldn't finish drives or just missed on opportunities, or a tip ball that we could have had for an interception turns into a touchdown. It was just, so it's just the little things that add up, and you're like, if we just correct those, we're not just in the game. We're like, it's right there for the taking, and we should have won that, So, I think Nease takes a lot of confidence from that, the fact that they were able to basically go, stand in the ring and go toe to toe with, one of the top teams, not just in the area, but looking like possibly in the state. That's something you can hang your hat on and take into, like the film room next week, and then learn off that, going into your district play, and just, become a better team for it. That's why you want to play games like that, those big rivalry games against top quality teams, because it helps you find out who you are.
Now, I know you and I, before the season, we were really excited. We talked about it. To see Cam Smith run, just how electrifying he is. And he really is. Since he came back from injury, he's phenomenal. Now they add KJ Perry, a transfer that came in. He had over 100 yards this past game. How lethal is this running back duo now? I've watched both of them. And, if your coach drafts and you've got Cam Smith and KJ Perry now in the backfield, able to get breathers out, and you don't really lose a step with either one, how lucky are you right now going into district play, starting your district play, and having these two dynamic runners in the backfield?
Pretty lucky. Yeah. You should probably play the lottery, But
I'd buy a ticket for the Powerball right now.
Yeah. Because he played quarterback. He knows how important it is for a quarterback and just the rest of your offense to have not just one but two backs that you can just rotate in and out. One gets tired, you spell the other. So like one might take you down, but the other one finishes the drive once you get to the red zone. It's just that's especially in high school football, that's a very, it's not that common. Normally it's one guy that kind of carries the load as the workhorse. So if you can never have a tired back in the backfield, that's a luxury that as an offense and as a head coach, that's what you strive for, and to have it, and especially at this time going into the districts, they couldn't have timed it any better if they wrote out the script.
But not only that, it seems like, when you think about it, and again, a lot of people forget you're talking about kids. You're talking about high school teenagers that are playing this game. And one of the things that I've really been impressed with is you see KJ come off the field and Cam go on, or vice versa. You see them talking on the sidelines. Having those two running backs, not only as great of runners they are, but it seems like the camaraderie and the being teammates that they've been able to forge so quick coming in has also affected them being so positive, because like I said, they don't miss a step when they go in there. So I don't know if they're sharing information with each other, saying, hey, I see this hole, but it's really nice to see. Two teenage kids in high school playing for their high school team, and they're working together to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Especially with, Cam being a senior. That just speaks to his leadership. And I've talked to him. You can kind of tell from talking to him that he's Like he just gets it. He's a little, probably, more mature than, a lot of even, seniors in high school. And I think that, that allows him to not be, oh, I want all the carries. Like what's this guy coming in, taking my
He's not
carries?
like that though. He's not like
no,
that.
no,
Yeah,
he's like
it's
totally
crazy. Yeah.
like, hey, what did you see?
Uh-huh.
How are they coming at you? Like, what hole did you take? And like he knows he can learn from the young guy, and then of course he can teach the young guy a lot as well, because the experience factor is like just overwhelming when it comes to Cam. So I think it speaks a lot to Cam, that he kind of takes him under his wing, and he's not just looking at this year, but he's also just looking at helping this guy out, helping the future of the program out. I mean, it's super rare, super rare.
How lucky was it for KJ though to come in at also at a time when, like, DeMarco was coming back, and you have an offensive line that's cohesive, and then you have a running back, like you said, like Cam, that's helping him out as an upperclassman and helping him. How good is that he came in at a time when the offensive line really was coming back together and gelling?
Oh yeah, that helps a lot, because now as a kind of a younger back, you want to kind of use your instincts a lot, because so much is being thrown at you, and the instincts is one thing that you can always just rely on in those tight situations on the field. And to have an offensive line that's like all back together and all and cohesive and blocking for you, now you just have to hit the hole and use your athletic ability, and then just kind of do your thing. So it's a little less thinking and more just confidence. It's confidence in yourself, because you have confidence in the teammates around you. And it just all, I mean, for a young player, that's everything. The mental game is so important for any player, but especially at a younger age like that, and you're just kind of coming into your own, and you want all the pieces around you clicking in order for you to do your job the best. And I think it's perfect. It's much better than if like the line was fighting injuries and he's having to figure it out himself. I mean, it's just to have that team and that confidence. It's got to be huge for a young player like that.
All right, so let's switch over to the defense. Lachlan, the quarterback for Nease, obviously comes in. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say he got kind of lucky here, unfortunately at the Nease expense on defense. But, you had Jack Rorex and Noah Hodge both out with injury at linebacker. And you kind of saw Lachlan pick on that middle slant a lot, in that area. Mm-hmm. And then about halfway through the game, I'm like, because I love my lockdown corners. I love Kirill and Elijah. They're just awesome to watch. And I'm going, whoa, where's number 9 at? Where's he at, right? And he ended up getting injured too. With that said, and you could tell once Elijah went out and Cannon McClafferty, who played very well, you could tell that all of a sudden Lachlan decided to test that side of the field a little bit more than he was early on. How much do you think the injuries with especially those 3 players on defense kind of, I want to say, assisted or helped out St. Augustine with them? Because it did seem to be a little bit of a detriment to the Panthers defense with those 3 out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just St. Augustine, they get their big plays. They take their shots. They have athletic guys. They're going to get those. But I think the amount of big plays, you probably would have cut that down a little bit, because you would have had those guys, a full healthy complement, of defensive playmakers. So I think just the amount of big plays and the kind of the the pace that they came, might have not made it into so much of a shootout. Maybe it's like maybe St. Augustine scores like mid-30s or low 30s. You could have cut probably 10 points off in a couple of big-time possessions, which gives your offense a little more time to kind of recalculate, because they're not coming back out there after a 2-play drive. So it's I think that's where you probably would have seen it. The big plays would have happened, just they wouldn't have been so often. That's what I think that's where it really showed up.
And I think you were over at Ponte Vedra for the first half, if I remember right, correct? So
yes.
I'm just going to go on the record by saying that in the first half, Kay Papineau did not have a pass interference. I know they called it, but it wasn't. I'm just going to go on the record by saying that. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it right now, because I thought he made a great play on the ball. But you're right. I think Lachlan's smart enough, being a Wake Forest commit, he knows where to test the weaknesses a little bit. I think he was able to do that. The good news is for the defense, Flagler Palm Coast is coming into the Den this week. Then they have a week off to rest up before the big game against the Sharks. So with that, Nease is welcoming the Bulldogs into the Den. It's homecoming week. And Maddox is probably going to break 1,000 yards at home, which will be nice for him and stuff. So how do you feel about this district matchup? I think I'm going to call let me think here. I'm gonna say the Panthers are gonna win this one. I'm gonna call it by 17. I think it's going to be a big win for the Panthers. I think they're doing good. I think Flagler's having a little struggles on offense. And I think also they're going to get some of their defensive players back on Nease. I just like Nease in this one. I think they're going to win, go into the bye week, and get ready for the Sharks game.
Yeah, I think that Nease can, outpace the Bulldogs offensively. Flagler's, after a kind of a, good start to the year, they've kind of, struggled a little bit, got a little, stagnant offensively. I think that, that'll help the Nease defense, with the injuries, kind of bounce back. And then in turn, the offense, like, it was a shootout against St. Aug. So it's not like they struggled per se to move the ball or score. And if you just kind of keep doing that, I don't see the Bulldogs as a team that will keep up to that pace like St. Augustine did. So I think it actually really, I think, works out well, both sides of the ball. And I see, definitely Nease. It's going to be a close. District games are always interesting, but having the game at home is definitely something that I think Nease, can lean on, and that's kind of, it's going to be something that, fourth quarter, that home field advantage really ramps up, and I think that's where Nease kind of distances themselves.
So after this week, the Panthers get a bye, so they get a rest up before the Sharks game. The Sharks are playing a common foe this year in the schedule, Orange Park, so they don't get the week off. So I'm wondering if, I don't think the Sharks have a problem with Orange Park, so I don't know if Coach Price is thinking, okay, maybe, if I get up, I set my starters for a little bit to let them rest. But in your opinion, with the Panthers having the bye and the Sharks having to play Orange Park before Nease, who really has the benefit there?
I mean, I think it's that rivalry game. So I don't know. I just feel like that's going to be an interesting game regardless. Obviously, the rest is good before a big game. So you'd probably rather be in that situation, in that boat. But the schedule is what it is, and you got to go with it. And so I don't know if it's I think I just don't know if it's a huge as advantage as maybe some people might make it out to be. I think I think these two teams have been preparing each other, for a little while now. So it's not like. Do
you think Nease could use it more with their injury situation? That maybe it's better for them at this point. I mean, I get what you're saying because I'm thinking the same way. It's it doesn't matter whether it's college, like say for example, Florida State, or if you're talking about when the Jaguars play the Titans, they get it's across the board. But in this particular case, and I agree with you, I think the game doesn't need any more pump up, right? Because it is what it is. Yeah. But it seems for Nease's. And maybe it's equal because on Nease's side of the ball, they can use the time to, get better and get healthy. Mm-hmm. But then again, if you're the Sharks, maybe you're thinking we don't want to break. We're rolling right now. Maybe we just want to keep going.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but Nease, the injuries is something that it will help. That's kind of the whole reason or idea behind the bye is to kind of help you recover. Right. Kind of split your year up or whatnot. And I think Nease having the bye, later in the year compared to Sharks, like in week 3, is kind of, it would be an advantage for them because you're probably going to need it at this point in the year, having played, several straight weeks now in a row. And so, Nease could, of course, definitely use that to their advantage for sure. And also not playing a game, you're not going to get anyone else hurt, or nicked up heading into that game. So, maybe the Sharks have some bumps and bruises that they didn't have, having played a game. So there's always that factor as well. You have a little less time to recover. So that, the buys, the situations of the buys always make it interesting and always definitely help when you're dealing with, in Nease's case, several injuries now that are kind of adding up a little bit on the defensive side. Well,
and the good thing also about the Nease Ponte Vedra game is we know where you'll be. We don't have to guess, right?
For sure. You can count on that.
So with all that said, please be sure to follow Anthony on his Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, ANTNY Rich, ANTNY Rich. He will be having a lot of information coming up, especially as we get deeper and deeper into district play and with the Nease Ponte Vedra game right around the corner, and also his great articles at the Ponte Vedra Recorder. So, Anthony, thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a great week.
Thanks, Todd. Sounds good.
Well, that'll do it for this week's show. For Anthony Richards, I'm the Todd, and thank you for listening to the 32081 Scoreboard Show.
Thank you for listening to the 32081. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Please don't forget to subscribe to the show so you can join us for the next episode.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
Until next time, take care.